I still struggle with dates. Whenever I try to shy away from it, but it's no getting around it, really. I just need to dive in and to get that under my skin. But I hate working with dates. So yeah, I'm just so happy when I come across something like this.
The date field, right? Like,
I mean the date field, not dates. I love going on dates, especially with my husband. But no, date fields. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Is this a wine talking again?
Could be. So could be.
Could be.
Welcome, everyone, to the Power Platform Boost podcast, your weekly source of news and updates from the world of the Power Platform and the Microsoft community with your host, Nick Dolman and Ulrikke. Hey, Ulrikke.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? You're not at home right now.
Great. I'm not. I'm in Spain. I'm in the Canary Islands. We're on holiday. There's a thing in Norway called winter holiday, and it's always week 8, and it's a school break. So everything is super expensive, of course. But this year we got to go on a week's vacation to Spain with the whole extended family, my husband's family. So we're here with 15 people here, all ages. It's very fun. So today we've been shopping, and now everyone's at the pool, and I'm here inside in air conditioning and recording podcast with you. And so it's 25 degrees outside and sunny, and a bit of kalima. Kalima is sandstorm, sand, and heat coming from the Sahara Desert over here. So how's things your end, Nick? Just to rub it in a bit, because I know.
Yeah, it's only minus 10 here right now, but the sun is shining. We did get some snow over the weekend a little bit. So I got to use a snowblower and everything, which is much easier than cleaning out your driveway, I got to say, having helped you the other week. But yeah, but you know what? Spring's coming. The nice thing about this time of year, though, even though it is cold, the sun stays up longer. So like the sun sets now, like between 5 and 6 is when the sun goes down. So it's staying lighter, a lot later in the day. So, spring is around the corner. So it is what it is. No kalima, no sandstorms, a few snowstorms, but yeah, that's what's happening here in Canada.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of neat though, to be able to travel the world and see different things. Cause you think, being a Norwegian like me, we hate, my husband has a winter depression, I think now coming on. He's so tired of the dark and the snow and the cold and the ice and everything. But then you get here and then you say that, no, I hear there's a drought. It's so dry. It's fire hazard and all over the place, and everyone has to be careful, and there's kalima. So wherever you go, it seems nice from Norway to come here, and then you come here, you realize these people here, they have their own challenges, right? So there's kind of no place you can go, it seems, where there's no real climate issues or things to worry about. So but I do have to say that getting a bit of D vitamin is good. And also, disclaimer, I have been for a bit at a very long and nice lunch with a bit of wine and a bit of drinks and kind of a little bit of tipsiness here, but it's all good, like you should on holiday, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I have like 3 coffees, and I had breakfast, and I just finished lunch. So in the middle of a work day. Even though it's technically a holiday here in Canada today, it's a family day, but I'm actually working because I got stuff to do. So
yeah, working on a Norwegian project, you don't get family days off.
No,
but
exactly.
Family day, what is that? A tradition that goes back to some old time, or is it just the government wanting you to have another holiday?
It's actually fairly recent, probably within the last 10 years. I think they established this in my province. It was out west first. And it's not all across Canada, so I don't believe Quebec has it, but they have other holidays. So yeah, so it is like today all the stores are closed, and yeah, the banks are closed and no mail, and then most people are off that work in Canada. Like my family's off. I think my wife was still sleeping when I started recording this. My kid was up, so yeah. But this is yeah. So yeah, here we are, like on me family day, you on vacation, and we're doing this podcast. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that, and it's fun. We're able to do, and you've been traveling. Well, we've recorded this podcast. We recorded in my house. We recorded in Vegas on conferences. I love that we're able to do this. On the road, doesn't matter. It's all good. So yeah, I think that's just amazing. Technology,
and
eh?
it's amazing, absolutely, and the travel, like the traveling too. It's like you get to see, like you were saying before, you experience different parts of the world. That and makes you appreciate home as well sometimes, of what you do have at home, even though it might be like dark and cold and whatever. There is a certain comfort there. So, but
Yeah,
speaking
absolutely.
of holidays and things like that, even with all this stuff, there are still new things coming out around the Power Platform. Exciting new updates and things like that that people are probably more interested in hearing about than what we had for lunch.
Oh, maybe they just want to listen into what we did, the last couple of weeks, and then we're done. Maybe. No, I don't think so. No, there are news, and big news at that. I think so. Lately, it's been a couple of announcements. We have a couple of links for you about this. The block unmanaged customizations in your environment. This is Power Platform and environment and Dataverse land. And this is pretty big. And you could argue that this is a bit late. I would think this is one of those where you think, oh, why hasn't this been here all along? The feature is that you're now able to block unmanaged customizations in your environment, meaning that if someone tries to make a new app or make adjustments to something as this in an environment that has this enabled, they will get an error message saying, sorry, your admin has blocked you from creating new content and creating, in effect, unmanaged customizations in your environment. So this is meant for production environments and test environments where you don't want those unmanaged layers, kind of forcing users to go into the dev environment and follow the pipeline and the proper ALM strategy that you have in place. Now, this kind of solves a big, I don't know, not an issue, but we have customers where they will go in during the weekend and make changes in production. So on Monday, what we have to do is have to go into production. We have to look at what the customer did, and we have to backtrack and create that again in dev, trying to delete it from prod and then run the pipeline again. So this is going to, Husopen and Kjetil, you're not going to be able to do that anymore, because now I'm going to enable this as soon as I can get my hands on it and direct them to dev instead.
Yeah. I think it's just the reason why it might not have been there, because this is an evolution like everything else. It's interesting because, like, going back and, I know I talk a lot about the early days of CRM, but it was interesting in CRM 4 in 2011 in the ribbon, if you were a system administrator within CRM itself, there was a little button where you could click on edit this form and it would open up the form editor directly. And I had customers that would go in like, ooh, and they would start adding their own fields directly in production and things like this. And at that time, they didn't even have the ability to have developer environments. It just wasn't included in the package. So this, I think, is definitely long overdue. It's definitely going to cause some controversy. There are going to be some people that are going to be surprised. But on the other hand, and I think there's going to be a few little things that crop up. Like, for instance, if you've created a legacy workflow that actually is dependent on an actual record in your system, and then how you have to deploy those workflows and change the lookup kind of value, are those things going to be blocked? We know Power Pages has some ALM issues in terms of deployment profiles that we can only work around currently with an unmanaged layer. There's some Power Automate stuff that requires the unmanaged layer, unless that's been sorted out. So these are the types of things that are going to creep up. But again, it's always a step forward to that destination of a nice, clean, proper ALM where you can do your stuff in your dev environment and move everything smoothly over down to your production. It is definitely way better than it used to be. And I think we're on the right track with this new feature. So let's see how this all lands.
Yeah, definitely. It's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing this in action. Absolutely. Did you see any dates from when we can? Is this public? There's public preview of capability to block and manage customizations. That was an announcement on the Microsoft Power Apps blog. So this will mean that this is public preview now.
Yeah, it's currently in pre-release. So it's, again, not, it's funny, not meant for production use, may have restricted functionality. But the fact that it's actually in Microsoft Learn right now means that feature is going to be quickly available or currently rolling out, or might already be there. I haven't checked my environments yet, but I definitely will be checking that this week.
Very good. And this also ties into the whole blog post series that I can't remember we talked about it last time, about, diving into and demystifying the whole unmanaged layer and what happens when there's a difference between the Power Apps and the Canvas apps, and how when you deploy them, they kind of act differently. So it's kind of all tying all of this together, I think, in a neat way. And of course, we always have the possibility of excluding people with user rights and user roles in an environment. So it's a good way for admins to get that toggle button to see or to say how they want that to. And you can't do this on default environment. I saw that was one of the small notes in the blog post as well. So that's something to keep in mind.
Cool.
And you have been diving into something I've been really excited. I kind of I talked a little bit about this last time, and you said, no, we're not talking about this. We'll talk about it later, because you and Dani did something exciting that I kind of spilled the beans on last time. Do you want to fill the people in on what you've been doing?
Yeah, so Dani Kahil, an MVP, he's located in Australia, and he's done things like this before. He's kind of made like a mind map architect diagram of different aspects of the Power Platform. And he's done one now for Power Pages. So you can go to his site, you can download it. We'll provide the link. And what it is, it kind of shows the different aspects of Power Pages, the different pieces, how they work together, kind of on a single diagram. So as you're learning Power Pages, you can kind of begin to see things. So he did an initial draft. He shared that with me. He said, "I'd love your feedback on it." So I pointed out a bunch of things. Hey, you want to add some stuff on virtual tables, for example, and this and that. We talked some of the ALM things. And then we also recorded a video, which has not been released yet. So keep your eye open for that, where Dani and I we walk through the document. And then the other cool thing that he did was, on these different nodes, he has links back to Microsoft Docs. So as you're going through this, you can look at this diagram on a PDF, and you can I need to learn more about this. And you can click on it and get to the actual documentation. So amazing work, Dani. And I'm glad I was able to help out a little bit. I know he kind of posted that we collaborated together, but really it was Dani's project. And I just kind of helped him out a little bit, kind of fill in the gaps and added my touch to it, I suppose. So yeah, definitely if you're into Power Pages, and if you're into other parts in the Power Platform, check out some of his other diagrams as well. Just if you're learning, it really kind of gives you that high level picture and ties everything together very nicely.
Yeah, I agree. It's I put that, as I talked about that last time as well. I put it up as my desktop background as soon as I saw it, because I really think it's cool to look at, and then it's also a good, as you said, it's kind of an icebreaker in the office as well. People see my background and they'll go, "What is that? That looks so cool!" And it's like, yes, this is Power Pages and all the capabilities that you have with Power Pages. Ooh, and then kind of breaks the ice and they get all excited about it. So I think it's a good way to visualize, because we're all visual, right? So it's a good way to visualize what is actually the capabilities that you have with that product. It's very cool.
Yeah. And my plan is I'm going to get a poster printed of it as well, put up in my office, just because it's so cool.
Very cool. So then your daughter can ask what it is and you can tell her about it, because you're working from home. So that would be awesome.
Yes.
Teasing. Okay. And I got something else also, because I used to be a SharePoint developer. So for me, this is really cool. And then also I had a colleague ask me, so this week, a colleague reached out to me and he said, one of our customers has a SharePoint library with over 1 million documents. Shouldn't really be an issue in and of itself, but they find that search is kind of struggling to index new files fast enough for them to get the search results that they want. So he was reaching out to me to ask, is there anything we can do in terms of the Power Platform or connecting SharePoint or Teams to anything that will kind of help with this. And of course, we dove right into the box and kind of explored, okay, what can we do within the box of SharePoint and Teams to make it index faster? Can we create a search experience on top that will make it easier to get to the files that they want easily? And then suddenly I thought, well, let's look outside the box for a second. Okay, what else is there? And of course, there's AI, and of course, there's Copilot. And then you have the new Copilot plugins so you can kind of create your own experience, and you can create your own cards so that you can create a Copilot on top of your data, and you can say that these prompts or these topics, when someone's asking these questions, I want them to get a custom experience back in terms of what the UI looks like and how that information is displayed or presented. And so that was kind of the route that we went through and go, okay, so we can create a Copilot, we can add it to Teams, and we can have it pointed to that SharePoint library for the users to see. And maybe that will, if that indexes well, that can give them the results that they want. And the next day, this happens to me quite often. I love when this happens. The next day, a blog post shows up talking about how to deploy a custom Copilot to SharePoint with a seamless single sign-on experience. Exactly what we're looking for. So this is custom SharePoint. This is SPFX custom code. And there's a video, there's a step-by-step instruction on how to make this from scratch. This is a kind of a custom component. You can add it to Teams and you can point it to SharePoint library, and it does exactly what we want to do. It will index the files and it will give you that custom experience back. You have your Copilot in Teams that will kind of give you that result faster. I just love when these things happen. So of course I just sent it to him directly, said, well, here you go, there's your solution, ta-da! And I really hope he builds it. So, and it kind of, when you did something, I was a SharePoint developer for 5 years and I haven't looked at it since. Kind of, the SharePoint developer itch that I get. I just want to scratch it a bit and see what, maybe I can build it myself. We'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of cool when you kind of ask the universe for something and then it delivers.
Yeah, exactly right. That's very good. Yeah. So, perfect. We'll put a link to it in the show notes if that's something up your alley and something you could use, because I think this is useful for many. There's a lot of companies out there that has the same requirements. So this is a perfect use case also for a very useful Copilot. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. And speaking of Copilots, I saw something on LinkedIn, which I thought was pretty cool. It's a series of course, we're all in the process of learning. I'm trying to, get my head more wrapped around the Copilot Studio and some of these other things. And it was from, I heard here.
Good luck.
Katerina Chernevskaya. Katerina, I'm very sorry if I butchered your name. I'm trying my best. But she posted this really cool thing on LinkedIn. It was a whole 31 individual little snippets on to dive deep into Copilot Studio. And it kind of starts off very easy, small little micro learning bursts. And I love these kind of things because, as you know, our days are full and sometimes we just don't even have the hour to sit down and go through something, yet we need to get ramped up real fast. And for example, the very first one is just basically on how to get, Copilot Studio, get the trial going. And then you move on to the next day and you try something else, and you move on the next day, you try something else. And, these things would take no more than 5-10 minutes. And so I'm in the process of going through it now just to kind of get more ramped up on Copilot Studio. And I just think it's such a cool way to deliver content. And I'm great work, Katerina. I definitely will appreciate that. We'll post this link, of course, in the show notes. If you I'm sure many of us are trying to maybe play catch up a little bit on some of these new things because it's so fast and furious coming out at us. And it's just a good way to learn stuff. So that was a nice little segue into Copilots as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the format. That's really inspiring. So we're always looking for new ways to deliver content, and kind of reminds me of our Boost Quest as well. You kind of you pick one topic and you try to deliver the essence of that topic in as easy way as you can. So our last boost quest, you did that.
Yep.
What was that about? Tell the people what it was about.
Oh, so it was really interesting. So how this all came to be was in the project we're working on, we need to find out what someone's age is. And of course, that you would think, oh, that should be pretty easy. We have the birth date. We should be able to calculate this. And when you actually start digging into it, this has been a problem for quite a few years where you're like, oh, it's a lot harder than you think it is. How would we do this? Can we create a workflow for this? Do we do JavaScript? No, if we do JavaScript, then it's not going to be updated on the background. Okay, then maybe we have to do a plugin, but then now we're getting into deeper professional code, which is not a problem either. And then there's a whole series of calculated fields. And then again, with all these calculated fields, it would just sort of go through, there's a whole sequence. Like there's 4 or 5 different calculated fields to get you to the age of the person. The funny thing was
because of leap years and la, right? So
all of this other stuff. So
it seems like it's take the year that you're at and then minus the year that someone's born. You think that it was that simple, but it's not, because it's, all of those complications that you get to when you test it right.
Yeah. And so this was one of those situations where you kind of get down a rabbit hole real fast. So what happened was someone sort of implemented it that way, and there's nothing wrong with that way because that's sort of been the prescribed way. There's a whole blog post from a couple of years ago on how to do it. But then our QA person, Alexi, nice little shout out to Alexi. He's amazing. He's like the best QA person. He's a total pain in the butt, but he finds
he takes so much beating. Yeah.
But he's so
smile.
Yes, for sure. I'll get big and big grin. And he started laughing at like, haha, I found a bug, so
big shout out to Alexi.
Yeah. So what happened was he found something that the birth date field was actually, set to user local. Remember my thing from a couple of weeks ago? We're talking about time zones. Remember all that?
Yep.
So he found that, his birth date was a day off in the system, yet showed differently on the portal. So like, oh, okay, this needs to be a time zone independent field. So I go in, fix time zone independent, which broke all of these calculated fields, which calculate these. So anyways, and then that caused a whole other big problem. So I went in and I'm looking at this like, there's got to be a better way than all these calculated fields. I got to change, and the calculated fields can't deal with time zone independent fields, and just like one of these 5-minute jobs that turned into like a 5-hour job real fast. And so what I ended up doing was I thought, wait a minute, formula fields, power effects. And then using power effects, I was able to go through and I would say quickly, but was able to build out a formula that could calculate how old you are, depending as of today, based on your birth date. And there was a few other caveats along with that, like the date format. The date function is not available in formula fields, but the day and the month and the year functions are. So I had to kind of piece those together. And then also calculate based on the birthday. Of course, even it's a leap year this year, but it all worked out in the end. I was able to create that formula field. So I thought, perfect boost quest, put all that together. And that was the boost quest for this week. So this is the thing. I think the lesson learned here is, first off, is never assume that things will be a 5-minute job. The other thing to, again, the whole lesson learned on date and time formats. And the other thing is too, is if you learn something, because this is something that future Nick might run into. So I put this together for myself in 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, when I'm going to be going, wait a minute, I need to figure out the age of a user. So I put this together as content. We put that out as a boost quest. I did a video on it. I'll do a blog post on it as well. So this way, it's all about this paying forward, because this information for the person that wrote that initial blog on the calculated fields, this helped us, and it kind of helped us move forward with everything else. So again, this is the stuff. If you learn something, and this is what I told you when we first met years ago. It's like you figured something out, and I said, write a blog on it, and you did. And I'm sure that helped other people out as well. So I think that's just sort of a message to get across. If you learn something, share it. Sharing is caring.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's so good, and it's so nice when we can actually build on each other's content like this. And of course, in a blog post, if you read something, pay back and make a ping back to that source. And things get out of date so fast. It's kind of neat to put in those breadcrumbs so that people can actually go back and see where things are coming from. And that's such a good resource. And for me, I still struggle with dates. Whenever I try to shy away from it, but it's no getting around it, really. I just need to dive in and to get that under my skin. But I hate working with dates. So yeah, I'm just so happy when I come across something like this.
The date field, right? Like,
I mean the date field, not dates. I love going on dates, especially with my husband. But no, date fields. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Is this a wine talking again?
Could be. So could be.
Could be. All right. So me being on holiday, I see that most things on this list it's from you. So I know that you have a couple of other things, news items that you wanted to go through. Do you want to talk about the call? So Yannick made the blog post about calling Dataverse REST API from Power Automate. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, Yannick is he's a friend of the show, friend of ours. He's a super smart guy, and his content's always cool because it always has a little bit of a different twist to things. And what he did was he wrote a blog post on, calling the Dataverse Dynamics 365 REST API from Power Automate. And you're like, well, what's the big deal? Well, you got to realize, yes, there is the Dataverse connector that we can use and we can do a lot of things, but there's a whole bunch of other APIs that exist in Dataverse that don't necessarily have that connector for it. So what he did was kind of showing you how to use the straight up HTTP request connector to do additional things with Dataverse. Now, his example is the Who Am I, which is just really more of what the current user is, but it shows the structure, how to set up your Power Automate, how to invoke the HTTP request to do all of those additional things that Dataverse has in terms of its API. So a little bit more of a pro code thing, but again, it's impersonating based on their Microsoft Entra object ID. So it kind of gets around some of those other things that you need to sometimes worry about. So again, it's just one of those blog posts that, you know what? Yes, I want to put that in my toolbox because this might be something I might want to utilize later. So thanks, Yannick, for posting that. I'm giving you full credit. Because this is kind of another running joke. He did a presentation once that kind of ended up in Microsoft's library of stuff and got repurposed. Anyways, we won't talk about that anymore. But anyways, it's no. It was a neat little blog post that he did.
So do you know if this, because if you use the Dataverse connector straight out, that's a premium, then you have to pay premium license for that. Is this a way to get around using or paying the premium license?
Good question.
Well, maybe that's a homework for next time. Yannick?
No, it is premium. It is premium. Yeah, it is premium. So no, you're going to have to get the full. But I mean, if you're using Dataverse by this point and you're building it within the context of an app, you should have access to Power Automate already. So.
Oh yeah. You should think, but there's a.
Yeah, but it's a valid question. In terms of
very nice.
Yeah, of other stuff, there's a few other topics. I think I'm going to park some of them because there's some that would probably explode into a 2-hour rant session.
Are there copilots?
No, not copilots. Just members of my gender that need to get their head out of their ass and be better. But we'll just leave that at that for now.
No, they exist in my gender as well. I don't discriminate. There are idiots everywhere as well.
Exactly. So let's leave this on a positive note anyway. But speaking of positive things, I just want a big shout out to our community, our YouTube subscribers. So as you know, we do post our episodes on YouTube along with our recaps, our boosts, and I throw some other stuff on there as well, stuff I figured out. And we crossed the 1,000 subscriber mark a few days ago. So,
yeah. Now we get to do this.
Yes.
Perfect. Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you, everyone. Wow, 1,000 subscribers. I really like that. Thank you. That means so much to us, and we see the numbers go up every time we post a new episode. Our numbers go up in general. Our listeners and our followers. We really appreciate it. And as much as we joke around and say that we would do this anyway, because this is what we do, we call each other up and then we rant about stuff and then keep each other up to date and share whatever things we find, between us. And then we started to record it. And this is what we do for fun. We also love to see that it kind of resonates with other people and that you find it helpful and that we can contribute to your learning and to keep you up to date as well. We really, really like to see that. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. And on that note, did we say, because this is the 25th episode that we're posted, isn't it?
Yes. So we're coming up to a year.
Yes, we are. So, and when we're crossing that mark, we'll both be in Seattle for MVP Summit, aren't we?
Yes.
So we have some ideas of what we'll do to celebrate that 1 year threshold. And I think if we can pull it off, I think you're gonna like it. And we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So, let's stay tuned. And of course, we can't tell you anything from what we learned from the MVP Summit. But next up after MVP Summit, is Canadian Power Platform Summit. And we will tell you everything that is going on at Canadian Power Platform Summit and do a recap, of course.
Yes. And I'd love to, hopefully we'll see some of you there at Canadian Power Platform Summit. If you've not got your ticket yet, you're going to be put on the waiting list because I think we're officially have sold out or in the process. There might be 1 or 2 tickets left. So, yeah.
Oh my. Wow. How many people are there then? Do you have a number for how many is the max capacity?
So with their sponsors, the vendors, the speakers, and of course our audience, it's going to be probably over 200 people. And because it's in the Microsoft offices, we have a cap, unfortunately, due to fire codes and whatever else. But there'll still be plenty of room for everybody to take in the sessions, and there'll be enough lunch. Really, we need to make sure there's enough. Well, there's definitely going to be enough lunch for everybody. And, that's partially why we did the registration to make sure people would come. But yeah, if you still want to come, definitely sign up, get on the waiting list. Because I have seen in my email, there are people that are dropping off. Plans change. I totally get it. But then that way, hopefully if you get on the waiting list, we'll be able to accommodate you as part of that. So, but yeah, we're super excited. We had a big meeting last week. Things are coming together. Our sponsors are amazing. We'll talk more about them. They brought it all together. Of course, the speakers like yourself is speaking, a few others as well. Again, it's just going to make the event, and our volunteers and everybody. I just can't thank everybody enough who has worked on this to bring this together. And I'm really, really excited. This is coming together.
It's a lot of work. And it's, and the speaker list, it's amazing. I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. And I know a bunch of us you're driving the van, a bunch of us going to take the train from Seattle to Vancouver. I'm just looking forward to this. It's like a little kid, the whole community is coming together and it's going to be a blast. So definitely. And looking forward to it.
And a few other places coming together as well. So that's in March. And then in April, we'll both be at Color Cloud in Hamburg in Germany.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then you're going to?
Colorado in Dynamics Con. And then in Slovenia, Dynamics Minds. And then I think we announced this last time. We found out that we have a joint session at European Power Platform Conference.
Yes, we are. That's going to be amazing. And that's in June. That's going to be awesome. So yeah, definitely hope to see you at some of these events. And if you're coming, leave us a note and you'll get a sticker and a hug and maybe we can grab a beer or just hang out. That would be so much fun. So
for sure.
Looking forward to catching up with everyone. Very good. Okay. I hear my kids are calling for me to come to the pool. So I think I've got to leave you there. We have another episode coming out the 6th of March. Is that right?
Is it, or is it the one?
I think that's the next episode. So that will be at the 1 year mark, probably.
Yes. So that'd be the week before MVP Summit. So we'll still do something for at MVP Summit, but not talk about MVP Summit because we can't.
Mm-hmm.
So.
So there's one episode on March the 6th, and then we'll have a celebration episode marking the 1 year, and then we'll see what happens after that. Maybe we'll do a recap of the Canadian Power Platform Summit.
Yes.
Let's hope we get
and we're going to go on for years. Like, we're not done after 1 year, right? We're going to keep going.
No.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't have this tattoo for for nothing. We're gonna keep on doing this, right? Yes. We need to sync this up and learn how to do this.
Yes, we get it right. Cool.
Absolutely.
Right. As always, great talking to you.
Oh, I love talking to you as well. And we'll be around with more news in a couple of weeks. And stay safe and take care. And we'll catch you then.
Okay.
Bye. Bye. Thanks for listening. And if you like this episode, please make sure to share it with your friends and colleagues in the community. Make sure to leave a rating and review of your favorite streaming service, and makes it easier for others to find us. Follow us on the social media platforms and make sure you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast with your hosts, Ulrikke and Nick Dolman, and see you next time for your timely boost of Power Platform news.